Sometimes the discourse within the community regarding Nintendo and their practices can become so ridiculous, all it takes is someone with no interest in the company or their products to set things straight. After a year of listening to people defend Mario Kart World's $80 price tag, let's revisit the debate through the eyes of someone with no interest in the series. If middle-class Joe Schmo walks into a GameStop in today's economy and looks at the shelf and sees a Mario Kart with an $80 price tag, what would he think? Would he assume that there's some kind of reason behind it? No, he would say, Jesus Christ, that's fucking ridiculous. Who in their right mind would pay $80 to play a video game? And he would most likely say the same thing if that $80 price tag was taped onto a God of War or a Halo or some other AAA. Okay, but maybe Joe Schmo's missing a few facts. Well, is he? It's just a video game. Good reviews, bad reviews, forget all that. It's just a goddamn video game. A bunch of code smushed onto a cartridge. Something you do in your free time for fun. So is that worth $80 out of Joe Schmo's wallet? No, it's not, so he walks away. And doesn't that sound kind of reasonable? I mean, there's a lot out there that $80 could get you. Line it up with another individual piece of media, and there's a lot of other choices with much lower price tags. I mean, apples and oranges maybe, but what makes this game $20 and this one $80? Is it the word Nintendo? Is that all it takes to justify the batshitness of the price of a video game? Because in terms of the amount of content available and replayability, ignoring that they're different genres, how far apart are these two really? Dividing groups of people by using the term cult is cliche, and truthfully, it's rarely accurate. I mean, do you know what a cult actually is? Last time I checked, the Manson family wasn't hosting Smash Bros. Tournaments. But to call an entire group of people idiots or moronic, well, that's just insulting. That may feel good to say in the heat of expressing your frustration, but it's a cheap oversimplification of a broader issue. Doesn't mean it's not fun to say, though. So okay, we've concluded that the sweet spot here is somewhere in between a cult and a bunch of idiots. Now what? Well, let me make something clear. I love Nintendo, but I am not a Nintendo fan. I'll sit with you all day and go through my collection and debate which is the best Paper Mario and talk about the best spots in Super Metroid to farm ammo, but I am embarrassed to be associated with the idea of liking Nintendo. And that's simply because Nintendo fans have become the most humiliating, unbearable, notable group of people in the industry. Because no matter how annoying or ridiculous anyone else can be, the Nintendo fanbase is so massive and the biggest accepted joke surrounding gaming. There's no other group as large as Nintendo fans that come anywhere close to being treated as legitimate industry commentators, no matter how uneducated anything they actually say is. The Nintendo fanbase holds this unique ability to self-convince itself that the company they admire is one of very few in the industry to not be unethical or disrespectful to its fans. But truthfully, if you're the type of person to post this kind of image about any company, then you're also the type of person to be too ignorant to acknowledge it when it's not true. And before I delve into details, I can't stress this enough. This is not every Nintendo fan, but it's a blueprint of sorts. If you like Nintendo, that doesn't mean you suck, but there's a sad pattern going on that needs to stop being treated like anything but ridiculous. So how do they do it? Well, let's dig in. The community surrounding Nintendo is large enough to where if there is ever any doubt regarding the ethicality surrounding one of the company's decisions, there's always more than enough people surrounding you to parrot some bullshit opinion. Nintendo has this very unique distinction where a much larger percent of their fans care about the company dearly, as opposed to Xbox and PlayStation, where the majority of people using them just needed a console to play BO7 on. Because of the massive lineup of IPs and console exclusives, a much larger percent of Switch users are attached to Nintendo and their games emotionally than any other platform. And though this has been further emphasized in recent years, there was a time in this industry where people just didn't give as much of a fuck about the companies as they do today. All it would take is a lower price tag to switch over. Now, obviously, in the case of Xbox One and PS4, there were many other factors that led people to switching over besides just a $399 price tag. But the point there is that despite people having racked up a gamer score and built a friends list and Xbox arcade library on their 360s, it was worth the switch to PlayStation just to avoid all the stupid bullshit they were pulling. People weren't just going to keep sticking with Xbox because they liked the company. And it's similar today with a smaller amount of people moving from PlayStation to PC to avoid all of Sony's ridiculous decisions, such as charging $900 for a PS5 Pro with no disk drive so you can run the few exclusives the console actually has a tiny bit better than before. Then there's Nintendo fans, this unique breed. They don't really have anywhere else to go. Okay, well, if you're on Xbox or PlayStation, if you make the move to PC, what would you be missing? Nothing really. Sony releases games on Steam now, and any major AAA gets put on PC with very few exceptions. You want COD? PC. You want Fortnite? PC. You want God of War or Halo? PC. But if you want Animal Crossing or Pikmin, you're stuck here. So what does that mean? Are exclusives bad? No, exclusives create competition and give developers incentive to innovate and improve their products. Exclusives are great. They give identity to consoles. But now that we've been in an industry where anything that could compete with Nintendo has just disappeared or been ignored because of other poor business practices, Nintendo really has no incentive to do better. And seriously, whether you think their current output is quality or not, honestly think, what incentive does Nintendo have to charge $60 for a game they know will sell like crack instead of $80? None, because what else are you gonna buy? Death Stranding 2? So for a lot of people, it's either you defend Nintendo or you don't play anything you like. What'll it be? Congratulations on pre-ordering Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. It's now your duty to go on Twitter and tell every Tom, Dick, and Mary who says Mario Tennis shouldn't be $70 to kill themselves. And that's just kinda it. That's your one choice. There's no room for normalcy anymore. The thing that made me want to talk about this today was a comment I received on my recent Tomodachi Life video. If you think Nintendo is such a bad company, then why are you playing one of their games? Hypocrite. You stand for nothing, and your words are meaningless. And this just highlights the thought process behind a lot of these people for me. Liking Nintendo means you blindly defend everything they do no matter what. You're not one with the Nintendo community unless you think Wii U bad, Switch good, everyone else is sucking on the end of a nuclear warhead. Like they run a background check on you to make sure you've never said anything bad about Nintendo. No, I'm just a normal person who talks about things that interest me and criticizes shit that's bad. But the incentive behind this brings me to my next point. There's no one else like Nintendo in the industry, so if you care, it's a tough ship to abandon. At this point, no other company has an output comparable to Nintendo in terms of style. For the 6 years Sony has had to do anything similar of note, they managed a Ratchet & Clank and an Astro Bot. It only took them 6 years. So what? I like Mario Kart. I just did a stream playing a bunch of them. I've done videos on Tomodachi Life, Metroid, fucking Teleroboxer. Does that mean I'm not allowed to see Nintendo for the lazy, bare minimum slot factory they've become? That I'm not allowed to say Donkey Kong Bonanza looks graphically shit for a game that came out in 2025 on Nintendo's brand new console because it's pretty fun? That because Nintendo just announced the latest Splatoon spin-off will cost $50 digitally, I'm not allowed to judge it for what it actually is when it comes out? That because Nintendo is going to sell Rhythm Heaven Groove for $40, I'm not allowed to say that Mario Tennis Fever was a bare-bones game with reused graphics and animations that shouldn't have cost $30, let alone $70? Or that Nintendo getting rid of gold points to get discounts on purchases sucks? Or that $100 for the easiest to permanently scratch controllers in the world isn't a ripoff? Or that making me pay to play online is a joke like it is on every other platform no matter how many 30-year-old games you throw in my face? Or how about that Mario and Luigi Brothership was a poorly paced shit stain on the series handed off to an untalented developer? Or that the Thousand Year Door remake running at 30 FPS due to poor optimization ruins the point of it being remade in the first place? Or charging me money to make Breath of the Wild run normally on my brand new $450 console is a ripoff the same way it would be if it were any other company on any other platform? I'm not allowed to say any of that because Donkey Kong Bonanza was fun and there's no other companies making games like it? Well, if you ask me, that sounds like a great way to let Nintendo know that effort is optional. That we can pretend Nintendo polish is still something that exists when games like Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong, and Tomodachi Life all look like cheap Unity shovelware games from 10 years ago when compared to other Nintendo games made in the past 15 years. How much does it say when the most impressive looking things in the game are the JPEGs they put in the skyboxes? Why can't I just say that without people unanimously agreeing that the way these games look are a result of laziness, not stylistic choice? There will always be enough rabid defenders to run around and convince you otherwise, but again, if you took some random person who has no loyalty to any one company in the industry, do you think they'll look at Mario Kart World and believe you or your beloved Nintendo when you try to justify it with a brand new console, a massive development team with over 10 years of development time, an unfinished battle mode with only 2 actual battle courses, only 8 cups with 8 more reused, and graphics that look like this in the year 2025? Have whatever opinion you want on the game, its quality, or fun factor, but how can one not see all this and hope for a whole lot more? You just have to take it and love it because that's what the Nintendo community says. You can have a few minor complaints here and there, but if you're not parading for this game to win Game of the Year, then you must be a bozo grifter because there's no universe where this game is anything lower than a 10. There's a very stupid thing that happens online a lot where fans of companies will have to swallow a hard pill. Their beloved corporation just did something objectively stupid. Now what? Well, just blame some other company, of course. When Nintendo first started charging $70 and $80 for games, many people took to Twitter to raise the point that, well, no one seemed to mind when Sony and Microsoft were doing it. And I can't help but ask, what fucking planet do you live on? I don't know if any one of you were online when that whole thing happened, but no one was jumping for joy at the sight of a $70 price tag. The only people justifying it were the morons like this backing up PlayStation and Xbox. Idiots of a similar breed. But while imbeciles like Tripster continue to say the dumbest shit you've ever heard to defile Nintendo and praise Sony, there's a lot fewer of them. Imagine the same type of moronic justification as Tripster, but multiply it by 50 and make it the majority of a fan base. All of that is why this is happening. The best way I can put this discourse is idiots using idiots to justify idiocy. No one seemed to complain when XYZ did it. I mean, are you kidding me? This is the level of brain power cap that maxes out at using an elevator. It's like shitting on the floor and then saying, well, the dog does it. How about instead of asking where the outcry was when Sony started charging ridiculous prices, how about we all just say that the prices have become so fucking ridiculous in all of these companies, that the rates of hardware production costs for companies and the numbers consumers see on price tags for those pieces of hardware are both rising at uneven rates. That in a world where every outlet reports on record-breaking sales and profits, maybe that's all just a result of Nintendo having created a community of people that will pay anything for anything, and will go out of their way to convince others that they should do the same. Maybe if you could step back and remove all the knowledge you have of Nintendo, you could see that what they're pumping out at the prices they're charging you for it are absolutely butt-fuck ridiculous. And maybe that so many people are just so intoxicatingly hypnotized into doing anything but criticizing this company, that somehow we live in a world where people unironically praise the Switch 2 Pro controller and its $90 price tag as one of the greatest controllers ever designed. A controller with no analog triggers, made from a plastic that is so easily scratched, has a mess of similarly shaped buttons all bunched up so close together with no easily identifiable shapes or textures, with a smooth, matte, untextured shell with no grip so it slips around in your hand like butter, literally the complete opposite of good controller design, can be held up and praised with its $90 price tag as the greatest controller of any current system out there, because the joysticks are really smooth when you spin them around. Like what? How deep into the ass of Nintendo are our heads? There is no such thing as objectivity anymore, because while normal people can sit back and say, well gee, I don't want to spend that much money on games, the rest of consumers will be loud and oblivious enough to defend ridiculous prices and poor manufacturing methods. A 6GB game like Pacopia can look like this and cost $80 on a game keycard, and you're a dishonest grifter for wanting better because the game itself is fun to some people. Why is that? Well, there's one more thing. Being self-conscious. Yeah, how ridiculous does that sound? But it's true. The majority of people logging on to social media every day to defend their favorite company fall into an age category of around 16 years old to 30 years old. Not all, but most. So this really corny thing happens where if you say anything negative about the company anywhere, the Nintendo police have to come out of nowhere to set you straight. It all falls back to this uncanny obligation a lot of these people feel to constantly legitimize their interest, almost as if they subconsciously feel embarrassed for having it. What do I mean? Well, Nintendo have, of course, always had a more childish tone than any other major game company. But in the past 9 years, with Nintendo in the spotlight again, a lot more attention has been given to their corny decisions than ever before. Especially since a lot of them are kiddier looking than decisions they made 20 years ago. To be specific, compare little details from games today to games 20 years ago. The really cheesy and stupid sounding talking flower in Mario Wonder to the straight-to-the-point, no bullshit attitude of the New Soup games. Announcers in Mario Party sounding like preschool teachers,
You got a star!
as opposed to just a unique voice that no one could find annoying. The corny English dub melodramatic music in Smash Ultimate and used in Donkey Kong Bonanza. To the no unnecessary oddities of earlier games in those series. The unbearably cringe lines in the recent Mario movies. Or the very kindergarten television programming sounding delivery in the main lyrical theme from the last major 3D Mario game.
Jump with me, grab coins with me, oh yeah!
Now, if you like any of these, that's totally fine, but you can't deny that for some random dude who scrolls on Instagram all day and runs duos every so often, jumping into one of those experiences and hearing this shit can make you feel like a 2-year-old playing baby games. And so if you define your whole personality around that, it may take a lot of blind defending to make sure you don't look like an idiot. And Nintendo just doesn't get that anymore. Nintendo just doesn't get how the subtlety of their games once made them so universal to all ages. Whereas now, to be completely frank as someone who loves so many of their games, it often feels that you have to be either 6 years old or an unashamed man-baby. Is this the case for all modern Nintendo games? No. Is this not true for some older Nintendo games too? Absolutely, but not to the extent or overtness as it is today. So now you have a bunch of people who like Nintendo shooting down any valid criticism so they can continue legitimizing what subconsciously feels like an embarrassing interest now. But is that the case for everyone who defends Nintendo? No, it's not. It's not at all. But this is absolutely the case for some. It's like if anyone has a bad outlook on the company, it's their duty to fly in and make sure you have a favorable opinion on them. The best I can think of in the past 10 years is the Nintendo Switch painful launch video. This video took off. Some people exaggerated some of the issues, others made it sound like the Switch would grow legs and strangle you in your sleep if you bought one, but underneath it all were a bunch of actual legitimate problems that still plague the Switch to this day. Controllers with connectivity issues and joystick drift, a dock that scratches your screen when you put it down to charge, controller straps that feel soldered on if you screw up and put them on wrong. All actual legitimate issues that Nintendo fans scrambled to brush off as nothing, as if it was their duty to do so you can continue thinking Nintendo is great. Well, I gotta tell you, I love Nintendo, but never in a million years will you ever convince me the Switch was a well-designed console. The general idea it had of a console handheld hybrid? Great. But everything else, the cheap-feeling, untextured, easily scratchable controllers and console, the crummy, flimsy, unbalanced kickstand that took 4 years to be improved, the world's laggiest web-based storefront that takes an hour to load a For You page full of AI hentai games, have whatever opinion you will about the console's first-party library. But if you, as a Nintendo fan, can't listen to me objectively list flaws in Nintendo's decisions, then you are truly what's wrong with the industry. And take this all from me, someone who can't shut up about Nintendo and their products. Every other video I do is about their games. Pulling out the Virtual Boy, running through the entirety of Hotel Mario, using fan servers just to check out one of their many shitty mobile games. I don't just touch on surface level stuff. And I can't express in any combination of words just how fucking embarrassing the idea of being a Nintendo fan has become. It feels like telling someone you piss your bed. I am not a Nintendo fan. I just like Nintendo. And it's such a shame when there are actual people in the community who are just normal people that form opinions as each new headline gets printed in ink. But the overwhelming abundance of people hypnotized by fun characters and IPs just ruin the fan base and turn it into an overly positive cesspool of drones allergic to criticism. And Nintendo's in a pretty good place because of that. They don't even need to maintain public relations. Their fans just do it for them. The industry needs another crash, and the only thing keeping that crash miles away from shore are the people pretending all is well. Xbox, PlayStation, they both have horrible business practices too. Layoffs and game studio shutdowns. The only layoffs Nintendo ever does, really, are the ones for temporary contractors. And the amount of studios Nintendo has worked with that they've let shut down, die, or be bought out could probably be counted on one hand. So that means that they aren't shooting themselves? And how are Xbox and PlayStation shooting themselves by that logic? They aren't making as much money as Nintendo, but they're certainly profiting. So then from this perspective, what constitutes as a company shooting itself? Because you don't like them? These three companies combined are doing the shittiest things this industry has ever seen, and instead of calling them all out for it, we're playing a game of pick and defend. But no company has a tool that comes anywhere close in size to the absolute cesspool of ignorance that is the Nintendo fan. You could make any video about PlayStation or Xbox or any other major company in the same style as this video here, and I'd agree with you. But it also doesn't make anything I said in this video any less right. So what does it mean at this point to be a Nintendo fan? It means defending objectively flawed films with the writing of a second grader's coke-fueled rant instead of just leaving the theater and saying, yeah, that was pretty bad. It means justifying the price of an 8-year-old Wii U game being reset to $60 because they added a 3-hour side campaign. It means constantly dragging the crummy ethics of other companies into the discussion instead of just admitting they all suck. And worst of all, it means desperately searching for a way to justify every shitty business practice spewed out by Nintendo the second the papers leave the press. So if you want to actually benefit from the way you think about the industry, do yourself and all other consumers a favor and just talk honestly. Be honest with yourself and put your love for a company aside when thinking objectively. Because I'll tell you a secret, you don't get paid commission for stalking Twitter feeds and telling off every guy who says keycards suck. Nintendo doesn't have you on their payroll. You don't benefit from this. The consumer doesn't benefit from this. The only thing that forces improvement is criticism. Don't ever hold back an opinion because the r/Nintendo mods will ban you, or a bunch of morons on Twitter will have you drawn and quartered, or people on YouTube will dislike the video and tell you to kill yourself. Keep letting the toxic positivity win and everything will continue to get worse. Laziness prevails when laziness is accepted. When your standards are at sea level and you experience euphoria at an anthill, don't expect another anthill. All this to say, Nintendo fans suck. Don't be a Nintendo fan. Be someone who likes Nintendo, but will sure as shit talk them down when they deserve it. And as always, I'd like to give a very special thanks to all my patrons: Adion, A Person 555, Ashley 43, Augie Reynez, Bad Karma, Basil the Tanuki, Bezray, Billy Garbage, Braden Nelson, Captive XC, Carb Heat, Carissa, Cheems, Craig Penderson, Daywid, Dingbat, Dramatic Pineapple, E-Soup, Asenity, Ethan Brown, Farce, Finches, Guy Phone, Henry Mendez, Holly2NN, Hubert Rogowski, IDK, Jonas of the West, Josh JS, Jules, Leo Herrings, Liffle, Collie, Maxi DB, Mr. Shadow Duh, MSPA Reader, Nerdo, Nilfi, Olg 15RD, Outside Coat, Phoenix 0219, Rasley F, Rascalshet, RTIL, Rushzer, Samilk11, Shigeru Miyamoto, Shitpost Botman, Starfly, The Poser, The Big Stonk, Tins, Topaz Chaz, Unnamed Jane, Vincent, Wamu Draws, your boy Mr. $1 Monthly, YouTube's Best Guy, ZK, and Zodaman. And of course, my YouTube members, Silly Britain 111, Eternal Wave, Reels, Sugar, Viola the Rosa, Smackerdoodle Jack, Key, Nick Poppy, Cheems, Bruh, The Poser, Lululand, Quicka, Witch Quest, DFRE, Lip717, IDK, your boy Neo, Jules, Frank Gubajillion, Space Ashes, Vampiric Pig, Matthew Smith, Big Daddy Gas, Zenon, Luke Sailor, Trion, and Uplift Smooth. As always, I'm Bearman, and I've been wasting your time. Thanks for watching.